Hey Claudia, hope you can hear me. Just finishing the last little bit of my setups here. Okay, that looks like I got everything. Claudia, let me know if you can hear me, please. Hey Jamie, thank you. Okay, great. All right, let me play the intro, guys, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Sue. Okay, guys. Before we get started on our hydrangea, maintenance is coming April 23rd, 24th. If you're in Eastern Time, it's going to be at midnight. 10 Pacific and 11 Mountain on the 23rd, which is tomorrow night. So save your projects, close them out, etc., etc. If they change it, they'll change it, and I'll notify everybody they changed it, but that's what's set for now. Hey, everybody. I see Purple there, and Debbie, and Catherine, and Pat, Nancy. Where can you find the file? This file is a Patreon file. However, there are several in Design Space, and I'm going to show you guys that. If you are a patron, you have access to this file. It is different, and it's on the Exclusives tab, so you can download it. Let me get this out of the way. And it's going to look something like this. And these lines are going to come in like so, and you're just going to put them on the leaf, or they're going to be on the leaf when you get them. So you're just going to upload it just like you would any other upload. You're going to go to upload, upload, drag and drop the file, and then insert it. And we have videos for Learning Design Space that will show you uploads as well if you're new to that. But in Sure Cuts a Lot, where I designed this, the leaf was like a free, royalty-free shape thing that I got, but it had no scores, no anything. So I freehanded some scores on there. They worked out fine. They just look a little weird on here. They're going to come in as cut lines from Sure Cuts a Lot. So you're going to have to select it and probably ungroup, and then come over and change those to score. And then they'll look like this, and you're going to attach, and then you're ready to cut your file. So once you have done that and you've saved it and made all your stuff, you're going to hit Make It. And this will do, what I'm showing you guys will do 2 heads and give you some more. And I'm going to show you the extras that I have. So you'll have plenty of petals to work with. But I bumped it up to 5 and hit Apply. And I got plenty of leaves. I only used like 4 leaves or 2. You can probably get by with 2 leaves on each one. But this will give you plenty of leaves. And you notice it says 4 mats, but you can do it in 3. Because these 4 pieces, you can click on them and you can move them to another mat. I don't know why Design Space thinks, well, I do know why. Because it's going to come up here at the top and just slide it down to the bottom. And it's because the bounding box that is around these, it thinks there's not enough room, but they will fit and they cut perfectly fine. You're just going to have to move each one of those to another mat and pick mat number 3, or if you want to do them out of different colors, and just slide them down to the bottom. So you'll get them all down there. And again, this is enough to do 2 of the heads of hydrangeas because I put 30 flowers on each one. So that'll tell you. And they go together pretty quick. It's worth it. It's a little bit of work, but it's not really bad, and you're going to see that. Now, what do you do if you're not a patron? One, you can become a patron and get that file. Or two, let me cancel this and show you what you can do. And you're going to get almost the same look. It's going to be just a little bit different. Yes, Denise, you can move things around on your mat. You can even select a brand new color mat. You can put it on a totally different color mat if you want to. If you decide that you want to cut 5 pink ones instead of all of those, then you can do that. You can split them up and do colors. So if you do not have, or you're not a patron and you don't want to become a patron, because I don't want anybody to do anything that they don't want to do, that's totally free will up to you. I don't want to put anybody in financial binds by becoming patrons. So I'm going to give you an option. Come over here to images and type in hydrangea. Because I want, oops, I am not typing well today. Well, I never type well any day, but today is especially bad. Type in hydrangea and let's let our search, and don't pay attention to my uploads. There are some in here, and you notice this is an access and it's free. This is from Creative Bug, from Leah Griffith. It is a Leah Griffith file when you go to Creative Bug, but this week it's free. So if you want to, I guess this week, I think it's always free. I cut this a couple of years ago and it was free then too. So I'm going to say that that one is still free. Then you have this one here, which is basically, I'm going to grab it too. I'm going to pull them in so you guys can see. Basically, it's the same file, except this one is printed. So you can print your color on it and avoid what I'm doing here. But you can also put your pattern in on mine, and I'll show you guys that. And then there's this one here. And this is the Leah Griffith. This is the same one as this. I believe this is the one from her book, which you can get off of Amazon. Nope, this is Access. I have one in there uploaded. There it is. Here's the same file right here. This is the one from her book. This is the one from Creative Bug. And you can see I uploaded this one from her book right here. It's the exact same file. One's just in blacked out. And then this one is an Access from Leah Griffith, and it doesn't have the leaves. So you have plenty of options if you're not a patron. But I'm just going to pull these two in and show you guys. Well, I think I got 3 of them, but that's okay. Here's what the one looks like without the leaves, and it's just double amount of flowers basically and no leaves. Let me stretch it. And you can see that these are going to cut all connected. I have made this file and it works perfectly fine. I just wanted mine to look a little bit more realistic. So I did mine in 2 pieces to glue together to give that extra depth perception on the flower, so that you would notice just a slight difference. But you see that they did, this one is a print and cut. So if you want to print and cut this on cardstock, then this will turn out just as beautiful, guys. I'm telling you it will. This one's just going to give you that added depth, and I'm going to show you that. Hi, Myrtle. Hi, Patricia. So, you know, like I said, for $2 or $5 a month, you're going to get, for $2 a month, you get all my files except the monthly SVG. $5 gets you everything. So, that's up to you guys. But you can come in here, guys, and go to print, and you can change this to print and upload your own pattern into Design Space for whatever that you might want to do. You can use some watercolor or just anything. If you weld this together, it will still cut them separately, but you'll be able to maneuver your pattern into it and get that perception. You can get maybe a blue watercolor off of Google and upload that and get some varying shades going on your petals here, and they will be gorgeous. So those are options that you all have. You can cut it out of double-sided paper. You can cut it out of single-sided cardstock. Pearl papers would be beautiful as well. Just all sorts of options. Cray paper. You can cut this from cray paper, and I'll show you just a small piece of cray paper. And there's not a whole lot of stretch or curl to these flowers, so they're super simple. So does anybody have any design space questions on what you can do with either one of the files? Does anybody have any file questions? Don't forget, when you bring in the SVG for patrons, you must change those lines to score lines and attach, because Escal won't let me do that. So let's go over to the camera and we'll get started. Okay. You're going to need, of course, your file cut, which I have, and I've already assembled a lot of this, guys. I spent maybe 5 to 10 minutes cutting. Wasn't long, and I multiplied it times 5. So you can see, as a matter of fact, let me pop over and show you. It finally loaded my print and cut. Print and cuts can be slow, guys, sometimes, but it's just because the PNGs and stuff that are uploaded are so large. But you can see that was just some kind of Waverly type. But if I make it real big, if you make it really small, it's going to tile up and it's going to give you that illusion of being watercolored. So it's up to you how you want to do it. Do a test cut on 1 or 2 and just do those 2 and see if you like it. Do a test print. And if not, change it up. So, but you can use your patterns on all of that. Let's see if I can get my, there we go, camera back. So that being said, you're going to need some liquid glue. I would not recommend glue dots for this, just because the centers are so small. You're going to need floral wire. I am using 26 gauge. It is very flimsy, very easy to bend, and very easy to maneuver. So keep that in mind. You may not like 26, I do, but I can move and stretch these very, very easy. You can see how thin the wires are under there. It allows me to kind of mash this into a ball and get the shape I want after I've got them basically spread apart. So that's why I like them. I don't have to fight it. 22 gauge will work too, maybe even 24. But the lower your number is, like 18, the heavier your wire is going to be. The higher your number, the thinner. And I like the 26. So, but you can get away from with 22 and 24. And I got these from Higgy Life on Amazon. My Amazon link's below. So you can get those. And I got several sizes with this. I think it was like a $15 kit. I got several sizes. And I think I even got a pair of pliers or something was in there. I got a couple of things in there. Some tapes. I did get tapes with it. It's a whole kit. So once you've got that, you got your file cut. You're going to need some needle nose. Well, actually, if you use 26 gauge, you don't even need needle nose pliers. And I have 16 wires here. Because this is how easy this stuff bends. And that's all you need. Just something to loop to put your flower on. That's all you got to have. You can basically get away with doing this with your hands and no pliers. But I've got 16 wires in total. And 1 is for my leaves. And the rest are for my petals. What I did is I left these on the mat. I cut one mat. And while the other mat was cutting, I did my chalking because I chalked these. You can use Copics. You can use, if you do solid cardstock like I did for these, I used some pastels. Now you'll have to wash your mat when you're done because we all know chalk can be messy. But all I did was take this fluorescent green. This is my purple one, so I'm not going to do it on my, let's put that one down and get my right one. These are just pom-poms. I've got, some of them came with my chalks and in another kit, but you can buy the little bitty pom-poms or the medium-sized pom-poms at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and you can use those. But all I did was rub that on the chalk and get some chalk on there. And then I went on the paper while it was still on the mat, right down the center, and I did a circular motion all the way down the center, giving them varying degrees of green down the center. And I did that to every single one on both mats. I had 2 mats going, and I did that all the way down, as you can see on my scrap paper here. I just went right down the center of all of them doing that. Then I took my purples and I did the same thing, and I did the leaves, okay? And I'm going to suggest, I did this 2 different ways, and I'm going to suggest that you take the time and rub it on the chalk, then rub it on the paper. And I'm going to show you why. Because you can do it a couple of ways, it's depending on the look that you want. And I used 2 different colors of purple to give me different degrees, but you can get the different degrees of color out of one color if that's all you have. But I just chalked it up, and I just went down and I started, and I got really close to the green, but didn't cover the green on both sides. And that's what I did, all the way down on both mats. Use different colors. If you want to use a different color, use the lighter ones, but you're going to get varying degrees. And that's what you want. You want light and dark so that it ends up giving you that illusion of a real hydrangea. Now I thought I'll save myself a little bit of time, and while it was on the mat, I took my chalk and I went and drew 2 lines down, and then my little tool comes apart here, so then I went and did this. But if you look closely at some of these, you can see that line, okay? So it's better to rub on and then rub on your paper, and that way you do not get that line, okay? And I just didn't have time to redo them. And you can see it a little bit. Some of you may want it that way, but you can see right here on this one, you can see where I went down that line, where I have that dark spot in the middle. And then you can look on some of these where I didn't do that. This is, of course, the lighter color also, but it doesn't have that line. So take your time and just rub it on the, I'm going to say put it on the pom-pom and then do it if you're chalking. If you're using Copic markers, you'll want to go light. You may need a blender to blend some of it out if it gets heavy, okay? So what I did after I colored them all on my mat, I used, like, this is just a frosted glass finish that some people use like on glass blocks. I bought this to test to see if it would scratch off of a glass block when everybody was saying, oh, do that instead of etching. It does scratch off, just FYI. So I use this as a sealer. You can use hairspray, you can use whatever, but you just want to spray just a spritz coat on there to seal your chalk. So when you're handling, you're not rubbing it off. If you don't have anything to seal it with, no hairspray or anything like that, just keep your chalk thing handy so that after you put it together and you're through handling it, you can touch up and do some touch-ups. If you've got the back edge of a flower showing, because I was going to do the backs of them, I did the backs of a couple of them like this, and I was like, you don't really see enough of it to warrant that extra 20 minutes of chalking. So, but if you want to put the time in to chalk the back, you can. I just didn't see that it actually needed it. And if you're using double-sided paper and all that, then you're saving yourself all that time. But these are all extras, guys, that I had extra right here out of doing 5 pages. And I put 30 flowers per head, okay? So if you want to do more flowers per, then you can do that or have some extra. I'm going to use these probably on a card or a scrapbook page or something like that. So if you're going to be making a card with them, then you'll want to of course, make the flowers and the leaves a little bit smaller because these are too big for that. And you can see the size of the leaf because hydrangea leaves are much bigger than their flowers. But I didn't want to go too big with these because I wanted them to be nice for an arrangement or something like that for Mother's Day, whatever you might be doing. These would be beautiful to make a wreath out of them. I think that would be a gorgeous to make a wreath out of these. So there are several things. Shadow box, but before I get there, if you want to do them out of crepe, you're just going to give that just a tiny stretch just to give it a cup. You don't need a whole lot of anything on these flowers, and I'm going to show you guys how to curl these. Let's go ahead and do that. There are two shapes in there. No two ends are alike. Well, they are. These are the two styles. You have the big fat, but they're different on the ends, and then you have this one that's smaller, okay? And I did that because I didn't want them to look uniform. And the first thing you're going to do is glue those together. Just a dot of glue in the center of them. And then you're just going to place the smaller one on top. Just like so. Let them dry. And I just glued all mine together and let them dry, and then I curled them. And then I put Nuvo drops in the centers. And I used, for these purples that I used crushed grape and apple green. And I'm just going to show you guys how I curled them first because I don't want them to be wet. All I did was just random curl up, maybe curl in on that one, maybe curl in here, and then maybe just give this one like a slanted cup. And that's all I did to each and every one of them. I did not do them uniform. They were all, I curled every one of them just however I wanted to curl them. Hydrangeas don't have a lot of curl to them. So, you know, just whatever looks pretty to you, that's all you have to do. That's all there is to curling them. That's it. Then, and if you look at hydrangeas, the centers are usually just like a green little dot or a little domed ball until they bloom completely with the color that they're going to bloom. So if it's blue, you would want to use blue. I did purple, so I'm using purple on these. But I went back and did just a tiny drop of the purple right up on top of that green dot while it was wet. And then I took my pokey tool and I kind of just swirled it just a little bit. Just to not to completely blend the colors, but to make them kind of look natural. Like the color was starting to pop out of it. So that will give you another realistic look as well as it being dimensional by being glued together in two pieces instead of cutting a shape that's four pieces. And then once they're dry, you just want to kind of cup them up just a little bit. Not much, just give them a little push. And then you're ready to put the flower together once those dry. I did these in advance because we know Nuvo drops take 30 minutes to dry. I'm going to put those up there because I don't want to mess them up. Now I mentioned putting them in a shadow box. To do a shadow box of these, guys, you can do a very pretty shadow box with one or two heads of these and a couple of leaves, and then put your frosted etched vinyl on the front, making it appear like etched glass. It's gorgeous. How do you do that? Let's go back over to Design Space and let me show you the easy way to do that. Okay, let's say that I was going to make this into a shadow box. I'm going to undo that if it will let me and get my colors back. Just because. I'm going to, it should pop in here in a minute. Let me get a circle, and I'm going to get a triangle. I don't need it in here right now. I'm just going to get rid of it. If it pops in, it pops in. Okay, let's say I have a circle and I want to dome that in a shadow box so it has like a 3D effect. A list of materials you didn't write down the name of the paint. They're Nuvo drops. It's not a paint, but it's, and I'll show those to you again. Blitsy, scrapbook.com, Amazon, they have all the Nuvo drops. And I will give you a, Deborah, are you a patron? I believe I did put a list in the, on Patreon of what was needed. No, I didn't put a complete list. You're right. I apologize. I thought I did and I got busy. I will get you guys a complete list. But I am just making this triangle just like so. Just going to cut a piece out of that. Almost like slicing a piece of pie. Okay? And I'm just going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. And I'm just going to unlock that. Because you're not going to see this piece. I'm just going to make it a little bit skinnier. I'm going to rotate it and squish it up some. Just need a tab's all I need. I'm just going to set it right there. I'm going to select it. Now you can make a fancy tab if you want to make a fancy tab. That's up to you. I'm just going to use that piece. You can use an octagon and slice it off and put it in there nice and pretty. And I'm going to weld that. Then, after this cuts, I am just going to bring this side over to this and I'm going to glue it. And it's going to create a dome. The larger you slice out, the larger your dome is going to be. If you're putting it in a shadow box, you don't want a great big huge dome, but you want a slight dome. Okay? Let me see. I should have cut one ahead of time and I didn't think about it. Let me see if I have. I do not have my circle punch handy. I will just cut one out of cardstock to kind of show you guys. So, but that's how you're going to make your dome in the shadow box. And then you're just going to glue your petals on top of that going outward. And that's going to lay them flat, make them go from a dome to flat in your shadow box. And cut them out of the same color as your flowers and it will blend in. Okay? Let me go back over and show you guys really quick. I do have a circle punch, guys. I just don't know where it's at. Let me get rid of those flowers. I know this is a crude circle, but we're just going to, I'm just kind of showing you guys what will happen when you do that. So you've got your circle and you cut out a pie shape. And then when you pull those together and you've got that on there, you see how it creates the dome? And then with that glued together, of course, I don't have a tab, you'll start placing your flowers from the top and then filling it up until they come out flat around. Okay, and of course they're going to be smaller or this is going to be larger depending on your shadow box, but you can play with it, cut you some scrap circles, save scrap circles from other things. You can use those to create your domes for your shadow boxes and flowers to give them that more of a 3D look. And if you don't want to do that, you can always cut like one of the foam balls. You can cut those in half, maybe a quarter. You need about a quarter because it depends on how thick your shadow box is if you can use those. But with the paper circle, you have more leeway. You can make it the height you want by slicing thinner pieces. The smaller the triangle, the less depth. The bigger the triangle, the more depth. Does that make sense for everybody? Clear as mud, right? Now the leaves, the way I did the scores, I know they look a little funky on there, but I did it so if you wanted to fold that over and give that just a little bit more depth, I did it on this one here. I didn't do it on this one just so you guys could see. Same here, I did it on that one and not on this one. So that you have the depth on those. should you want it. And if you don't want to, then you can just curl it without doing anything. Or you can fold it just in like a Z fold right down that center. And if you do it with the Z fold, then you can just hot glue your wire right to the inside of it, and then it will allow you to bend it and give it some form. And it hides your wire all at the same time. I've got a curl in this one where I showed you guys the thing. And it's not hot glued in either. But when you hot glue it in, it gives you the ability to give your leaf some curl, like so, and it will stay. So, how do we put it together? Easy peasy. You guys aren't going to believe how easy this is. 15 wires, or if you're doing 32 flowers, you need 16 wires. You need half of what the amount of flowers that you're going to use. And you want them to be even. And then you're going to need some of your wax tape, your floral tape. And the heat from your hands activate this, guys, as you stretch it, and the heat from your hands. And I'm just going to roll it right around the middle just to get it started. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to fold this in half. Just like so. Get it mashed down. Using the 26, like I said, you can just about get by with no tools at all. And then you're going to start wrapping it. If you want longer stems than what I'm using, if you're doing a wreath, you don't need longer stems. You can just fold them in half. Then don't fold them in half, and you need 1 wire per flower. Okay? And I'm going to stop right, I don't know, about a finger's width from the top. And I'm just going to break that tape off. And now I have my stem ready to start gluing my flowers on. And we'll get to the leaves here in just a moment. You're just going to take one of the wires, pull it out, and then you can either use some needle nose pliers, whatever you want, and just put a little loop in it and fold it over. And you can do that with your hand just as well. But you need something to help you curl it. You can do it with your pokey tool. You don't even need pliers. Take your flower, put some hot glue on the back of it. I'm going to give it a second to cool. I found if I gave it a second to cool, that I didn't have to hold it and prop it so long, and I could move on to the next. And then you're just going to put that wire right in there. And you don't need to mash on it or anything else. If you do, it's going to bend. The wire is just that easy to bend. It's easier than a pipe cleaner on the 26 gauge. And then you're just going to push that out of your way. Pull out another wire. Let me show you with this one. Just going to wrap it around like a little hook. Do mostly with my hands. And then fold it over. Take the next flower and do the same thing. Just put a little bit of glue on the back of it. And glue it right to the top. And then you're just going to repeat that until you have them all on there. Do you guys want me to go through and show you every one of them, or are you good with just a few? We can complete the whole thing if you want. Did everybody have a good Easter? You want to make sure your glue is setting before you move on, or it's going to glue to the other. Just going to push those out of the way. But while I'm doing this, let's go over the materials list. You're going to need 22, 24, or 26 gauge wires, either one stem for 2 flowers or a stem per flower, your preference on how long you want your stem. I didn't want long stems, so I could get 2 flowers per wire, which is what I'm doing here. Then you're going to need your cardstock or pearl paper or crepe paper or print your own paper. Whatever paper you want to use. I'm using Cricut cardstock, 80 pound, and I chalked it. So if you want to chalk it, you're going to need a set of the soft pastel chalks. This little kit has like 48 colors in it. I got it a couple of years ago, guys. It was 15 bucks, 40% off coupon. It's really inexpensive, and you can use it on cards and everything, but you do need to seal it so it doesn't wipe off. They do make a sealer, I believe, Jamie. I don't know what it's called, but I just use hairspray or a acrylic spray because it's just a light spritz just to keep it from coming off. And that's all you need. You don't want to curl all of these at one time, and you don't want to curl them definitely before you put your stem together, or they're going to hook on everything. It's just like a coat hanger. It's going to hang on everything and create a headache for you. And then you're going to need your floral tape and whatever tools that you need to put them together, which if you're using the thin wires, you're not going to need it. What your Cricut tools will do it. Your scissors and your pokey tools, they'll do it. And then if you want to use Nuvo drops, if you don't want to use Nuvo drops, guys, you could use your markers or pens and stuff like this, or pearls, rhinestones, whatever look you're going for. This is going to give you a more natural look, the Nuvo drops. They come in tons and tons and tons of colors. And a matter of fact, they have some new ones out too. 2 new ones. I think I told you guys about the Dream Drops last week. They also have the Stone Drops are out. They finally came out. They were due out this month, and they finally released them. And they have a little texture to them, and I didn't get them in time for this, but the texture on those is like a sandy texture, and they would have been great for the centers of these hydrangeas if I had had the color that I needed. They only come in 8 colors right now. But it gives, they're a little rough. They're not, they have like a little sand texture to them. But they're called the Nuvo Stone Drops. 8 colors, and they did have a purple but not a green. So it just depends. They got like a teal, a purple, a red, a white, a gold. So there are a few colors of the stones. They'll probably come out with more, but right now that's all they have of those. But they will be perfect for your hydrangeas if it's in a color that you are doing. But then the regular ones worked for me with swirling 2 colors together. My Easter was good. My husband got home 2 days ago from Wisconsin. So he was home for Easter. Oh, Debbie, you had bronchitis. I'm so sorry. And you can see how this is going, guys. This first layer as I go around is creating the base shape. And all I did was smush my wires in from there. You're just not going to push them down as far when you get around. But you do want them kind of close together because we know how hydrangeas cluster. I'm trying to stay in camera for you guys here. To me, the pliers were just easier because I could hook it and then finish it off by hand. Just like that. I'll just keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't slide while I do another one here. And those don't have to be uniform or pristine or anything like that, just random. I didn't pay attention to colors as I put them on. I did those random too, just like hydrangeas are. Does anybody have any project issues this week? Anything you need help with, or design space issues you need help with? And if they give us a new tool on the maintenance that's coming, I don't know if what we're getting, if we're getting anything, but if there is a new tool, I will add some videos to the ones that I just did and get those to you guys. Get back up there. I'm hoping that they give us some text tools, but I don't know. I haven't been told anything. Only that there's maintenance. But I haven't checked my email today either. Well, I have, but it was early this morning. You can work off both sides. Just keep an eye because they're going to slide with that hot glue. I think a low temp would be better. I am working with high temp. So that's why it's taking mine a little longer. I am not shortening the wires, Debbie. I am not. And I'll show you why. Because I'm using 26 gauge, I don't have to. And it gives me more control over my shape at the end. If you're using a really heavy, strong, thick wire, you need to dome them. And what I mean by that is you need to come around and do your bottom base. And then when you pull this one up, you need to maybe clip off a little bit, like right here, and do your next row. And then on your next row until you get a dome at the top where you have one standing straight up. So if you're using heavy wire, yeah, you're going to need to do that. But if you're using 24, 26, probably even 22, you don't have to. And you'll see why here in just a few minutes. This took me longer, I felt, than chalking it did, was gluing it, because I kept waiting on the glue to set. And I'm trying to speed it up a little bit by trying to watch two at a time and making sure it doesn't slide off its stem while I'm gluing the second one. And it doesn't take much glue either. I'm just pulling out one wire at a time. Just getting a little hook on it, something for the flower to rest on. That's it, because they're not heavy and the wires are very thin. You don't need a lot of anything for it. You just need it to adhere. See if I can cool it a little faster there. Just continuing as they dry to push them down out of my way. But that's what I mean by doming. See how I've got those, see if you can see against the, see how I've got one layer, then another, then they're straight. That's what you're basically going to be doing instead of shortening them. If I feel one needs to be pushed in, all I did was push that wire down a little bit further. You see how easy it was to push that down, and it will give you the space that you need to arrange it with. If you're doing 18 gauge or 16 gauge wire, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to pretty much be dead on that doming to get it to stand in there. And of course you guys want to pull all your little glue hairs off. I tend to wait to the end, but if you want to pull them off as you go, that's probably better. That way you don't miss them. Hey Bonnie. That's okay, replay will be there for you. And you guys can see how this is starting to take shape. We don't have many more to put on here. A few, but not many. So what Patreon project have you guys been looking at that you would like to see this Saturday? Anybody seen anything that they want to see recreated? Yes, Susan, we are on Mondays. Life permitting. Occasionally something comes up and we can't go live, but life permitting every Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We're always doing some sort of project. And you guys can see I'm not doing enough glue for it to be dripping down, so it's allowing me to work a couple of them at a time, and I am dropping glue on that second one over there and letting it cool just a little bit while I twist that other wire. So that'll make it go a little quicker too. We only have about 5 or 6 more to do, it looks like. I'm going to twist a couple of them here. But just little hooks, and you can tighten them in if you want. You don't have to. I have glue hairs on my fingers and it's dragging my flowers. Get out of there. Can I do 3 before it cools? We're going to try. Oops, I almost flipped that one right over. By golly, I did get 3 on there. And it was cool enough to squish too. Get that glue hair out of there and off my thumb, causing issues. And these, the Nuvo drops, are a little damp on, but we're going for it. I don't think I'll mess them up, but we're going to try to get them on there. And then show you guys how to shape it and put the leaves on. No rhyme, no reason, I just stuck them all on there. You guys saw that. I didn't really, no muss, no fuss. And I did the same thing as I was chalking and curling, just quick and simple. Get back up there. Trying to run out of room here for my wires, might spaced out. And you are going to stay there. Now let's just give that a second for those to set, and we're going to I'm going to put a wire in just a couple of these that I did fold on the leaves while that's setting. Just want to make sure that they stay on. Just going to snip this wire in half. And then I'm just going to put a teeny tiny bit of hot glue in the crease. Lay that wire in and squish it down. In that fold. And if your wire, you haven't been playing with it, it should be pretty flat. You might see mine on this one. because I've been playing with it and bending these to show you guys stuff. But generally your wire is going to be straight and go right in there, no problem. So now I have those. All right, here's how I shaped it, guys. Literally started at the top and just started pushing them into place with my fingers. See how those wires are giving way and letting me just pull them up where I need them. Push them down and pull them out as you are shaping. And I got my basic shape, and then I started filling in, pulling them up just to hide the wires. That's all I wanted to do. Pull them up where you need to. Just get your basic shape. There's a little hole there, so I'm going to pull that one up. That's it. How easy was that? And you can play with it all day. Just until you get it where you want. There's just not a lot of, it's not really tough to get them to go where you want. And I've got those like overlaid on top. Just pull them in, tuck them under like you want until you've got it shaped. Once you've got it shaped, my leaf is cool now, and I've got that little bit of wire in there to give me enough bend. And I'm just going to bring that down on the stem. And if you've got a longer stem, or I'm pushing mine up towards the top, as you can see, so that it pulls out of the side. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a wrap around my stem that I've already put the wax on. I'm not worried about it showing because I'm going to put another thing of tape, and I just rolled it. And then I'm going to place the other one in there. I want to give it a little curl on it. And if you want to do a little brown like rust spot, because we know hydrangeas do that on their leaves sometimes, make it look realistic. Put that brown Nuvo drop on there. Or use your Copic marker. And I've just wrapped those wires around. And now I'm going to take another piece of the wax tape, and I'm just going to coat it from that top leaf. Just going to bring it in, tuck it in there, and then just start wrapping it. If I can get it to take hold. Oops, I tore it. Remember, the warmth of your fingers and stretching it releases the wax and makes it sticky. So just get it going. And wrap that piece of tape right back up, and you're done. And then you can fold your wire, bend it however you need for it to sit up, or how cool is that? And guys, really that took us an hour, and I covered more stuff. I didn't work on that the whole time. So cutting time and everything, I'm going to say it will take you an hour to an hour and a half to put them together. And that's cutting them and chalking them. Now if you do a pearl paper or you do a pattern paper or a double-sided printed paper, it's not going to take you that long. I am factoring in the time it took to chalk these. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, guys, if nobody has any questions and everybody's good, the links for Nuvo drops, again, Blitsy, Amazon, scrapbook.com. Type in Nuvo drops, you're going to get all sorts of color. You have crystal drops, which is what these are. You have stone drops. You have dream drops, which are iridescent. So you have the glitter drops. They come in all different kinds, but I did use the crystal. Hey, Hetty. I'm glad you all liked this one. I thought it came out really, really good too. And I like the little bit of extra depth that you get out of the two-piece flower instead of the four-petal one-piece. I think it's a little bit prettier because you get that depth where it lays over the top of the others. And you don't get that with the four-petal. But the four-petal does come out pretty. It's just as pretty in a different way. Yay, I'm glad you got to see me live, Myrtle. So I will see you guys on Saturday. It is Patreon Pinteresting projects, if I can spit it out. And that's where we recreate a Patreon project that somebody has asked me to recreate. And we do our version of it. Yes, you can use stickles, Nancy. If you have the right colors, you most certainly can. I have some stickles. Or the, what are they called? Pearl? Liquid pearl? Yep. Liquid pearl stickles. You could use those. These are basically the same thing, but these come in much, you have a better selection of color. Basically, same thing. To me, these hold their shape a little bit better. They don't flatten out like stickles do, if that makes sense. To me, stickles go flat as they dry. And the Nuvo, they will go a little, but they hold their shape a little bit better. Perfect pearls, that's it, Jamie. I've got liquid pearls. So this one is Ranger. And this one is Tonic. But yeah, you could even use beads. If you have like those little glass beads, you could use those. You can create all sorts of looks with these guys. I can't wait to see what you guys do. But please, yes, do some of them and post them. And again, if you chalk, don't worry about uniform color, because hydrangeas don't do that. So play around with it. Just stick them together and go with it. They're going to look beautiful. So, Saturday at, what time is our Pinteresting projects? See, I am just losing everything this week. Pinteresting projects is at noon. At noon on Saturday. And I will try my best to post what that is going to be on Wednesday, which means I have to find it, create it, cut it, put it together, and post it for you guys. So I will try to get that in there quickly. I will do my best to get it done tomorrow so that we can get it posted. I want to say thank you. Thanks everybody for joining me. I appreciate you. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, moderators. I hope everybody had a wonderful Easter. I did, and I will see you guys Saturday at noon for Pinteresting projects. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.